So, technology on your motorcycle seems like a no-brainer, right? Well, there's a whole bunch of options and a whole bunch of silly stuff that real riders say you don't need. Let's find out what will save your bacon and what's shiny keys to a baby. Now, to start this video off with a bang, I have brought the Pan America out here to test its various ride modes. We're gonna start off in sport mode, move down to road mode, and then rain mode. We brought it out to a lovely neighborhood where we are going to be doing the suburban hooligan stuff, stoplight to stoplight racing, all the way up to 60 miles an hour, the sort of thing that you want to see. And we're going to see exactly how much difference is made by switching these modes.
The first two pulls in sport mode felt the best by far. The bike performed as it was meant to, giving you the most natural feeling between the throttle opening and the bike accelerating. We switch to road mode, you can feel the nannies kicking in. The power is more muted and the bike accelerates in a little more lazy fashion. It's not bad, but you can feel an artificial limit to the power the bike is putting down. Rain mode felt the worst. The power was so underwhelming I had to put a foot down mid-launch to stabilize myself as the bike tried to tame 94 foot-pounds of torque. Nothing about rain mode felt natural and the bike even sounded less happy.
Test number 2 today. We are going to take the Pan America and test its traction control. We're going to be putting the bike in TC mode. We're going to do 3 launches. We're going to turn TC off and do 3 more and see if there's any appreciable difference in the way this motorcycle gets from 0 to 60. Let's see how it does.
First of our launches were done with TC on, and you could feel the system kicking in to sort out the bike in second gear. I was also a lot more confident launching the bike a bit harder because I knew if the back tire got sideways, the bike would sort it out for me. Without TC, not only was I more ginger with the launches, but I could feel the tire slipping as I was reaching the top of the power band. Not exactly comfortable when you remember that the bike is putting down 150 horsepower at the crank.
The last of our average everyday neighborhood tests today in this area is going to be ABS. This is one thing on this motorcycle that is toggleable, and it's probably toggleable on your motorcycle. Chances are you can disable it at the rear wheel, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a couple of tests coming to a stop with only the rear wheel ABS, and then we're gonna try it without the rear wheel ABS and see how much more distance is covered, or if the stopping is basically the same. Let's dive in.
Towing almost 750 pounds worth of bike and rider to a sudden stop with just the rear brake is a tall order, and as expected, in a panic stop, the rear locked up instantly without ABS. With ABS, I was able to slow the bike a lot. One thing that always gets me is how mechanical ABS sounds. You hear a lot of clattering from the rear wheel, and the lever shakes a lot as the pressure going to the wheel is modulated for you.
Test, and I'm gonna mash the shit out of the front brake.
Okay.
Don't do this when you're learning how to ride.
Okay.
No mash shit out of front brake. Very bad. Very bad.
By far though, the most terrifying thing is grabbing a fistful of front brake. I know in my mind that the front ABS is going to work, but it goes counter to everything I've ever been told as a rider.
Alrighty guys, this was one that blew my mind so much that I actually had to stop production and actually talk about this here instead of waiting till we get back in the lab. What you're looking at here, this is the distance it took me to stop with no ABS and just the rear wheel. My longest skid was 96 feet from that line there, which we'll be able to see in a bit. But this right here is about the distance where I was stopping with rear wheel ABS. It's carving at least 30 feet off of your stopping distance. That is a huge, huge safety boon. That's nuts. But then we get over here where we see the bike stopping with just the front wheel ABS. And just to show you how powerful modern front wheel ABS is, this is where the bike literally stopped. I didn't move it. I got off the motorcycle and left it here. The start line where I was meant to hit the brakes, that's right there. This is 27 feet, 2 car lengths to stop this motorcycle. ABS right now has just blown my mind as a safety feature. Your front wheel ABS stopping that effectively, that's really gonna save some lives. For our final test out on the bike, it is time to conquer the thing that everybody hates, car drivers, bicyclists, motorcyclists. It's speed bump time. We're gonna be going over these speed bumps in off-road mode, in sport mode, and in rain mode to test the electronically adjustable suspension and see what it does, but in all these modes, it's gonna kind of suck. Pray for my taint, guys.
The suspension test on this bike was rather painful. Not because the bike did badly or the suspension didn't work as advertised, but because I rolled over a speed bump seated 6 times. I shouldn't have to tell you that that doesn't exactly tickle in a certain sensitive region. However, the electronically adjustable suspension did a good job of adapting as we switched rider modes. While we couldn't test it around a racetrack, anecdotally, I can tell you that around a corner, there is a difference in the performance as you stiffen the suspension.
Now, we have been talking a lot about technology that is going to keep you safe while you're riding your motorcycle, but there is a piece of technology that you should be keeping safe, and it is your cell phone. Thankfully, Rockform makes the best phone case, drop tested from 6 feet, and better yet, it fits on your handlebars with this handy dandy phone mount right here. I traveled the country on this motorcycle right here and my KLR, keeping my phone on the handlebars because I had this Rockform phone mount. Works great, and I trust my $1,200 phone to it. That's the best thing I can say for it. If you want to protect your phone right and make it so that you can have your phone on your handlebars, click that link down below. Use the code YN25 to get 25% off your order. Big shout out to Rockform for supporting this video. So the first piece of technology we couldn't test out on the road is a quick shifter because we can't reasonably go fast enough for it to make a difference. But for the folks at home, let them know what a quick shifter is and does.
So a quick shifter in its most simplest form is a mechanism that exists between the shift rod and the actual arm that changes gears, and what it does is intercepts the signal of the ignition on the engine to make sure that your gear can actually slip to the next gear. It's a lot of fun to use, but in most situations it's mostly most applicable on a racetrack, but it is a lot of fun to use on the road.
Now the question then becomes, do you need one?
I think it's one of those nice to haves, definitely don't need type of things. I think if you're riding a more expensive motorcycle, it's probably a nice thing to have, but it's definitely not a need. Auto blippers as well is another piece of tech that you often see combined with quick shifters that are way more complicated because they actually have to work off of an electronic throttle, have to talk to the engine and do a whole bunch of other things to where it can actually just stamp on the gear lever and get the next gear down. But I don't really think it's something you need.
Now, speaking of other fun features, TFT displays have become really common on motorcycles.
Yeah.
You see them everywhere now, to the point where people are questioning whether or not it makes sense, like on a Duke 390, where you have a very simple, you have a very simple motorcycle that you don't need to see a whole bunch of stuff. But let them know what you think about TFTs.
I think TFTs are the natural evolution of how cheap screen technology has become, and it makes sense to just chuck it onto your motorcycle, and whoever was the first one to put it on a bike, everyone else had to follow along there too. I'm a big advocate of just a big old sweeping tachometer and a small little digital readout for my speed and gear. That's all I really need. And a gas indicator is good too. But yeah, TFT displays nowadays, you get the BMWs with like the 7-inch screen, 120 FPS. They look all fancy and cool. If you have a bike with a lot of advanced electronics, I think it's a great feature. If you don't, I really don't think you need it either, honestly.
No, there's no point unless you're actually going in and monitoring a bunch of ride modes. Mm-hmm. It's a pain in the butt to do that on an LCD, which makes sense that since we have so much adjustability on a bike like this, that it's got a giant display so that you can see it all.
I think the one place that a TFT actually increases safety is if you have a tire pressure monitoring system.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. If you have the sensors, I think this bike actually has it, which is pretty neat. It'll tell you what the PSI are right there on the screen. That way, if you're running a little flat, before you maybe even feel it, you could already see it on the screen. But otherwise, kind of a, don't really need it.
It's a neat little feature.
Yeah.
Now, the last one that seems like a neat feature but could actually save your bacon, the 6-axis IMU.
Yes, I think a lot of people view that as like, oh, that's just for race bikes. You don't really need that. But a 6-axis IMU can actually unlock some really cool features on a bike, right?
Yeah, so the way 6-axis IMU works is it's functionally an electronic gyroscope. And it's taking thousands of readings as you're riding.
Yep.
And it can tell exactly what's happening on your motorcycle, which gives you the first cool feature, which is cornering ABS.
Yes, yeah, cornering ABS is a ridiculously nice feature to have if you've never seen it before in action. I highly recommend you check out a video of it actually being used. Very cool.
Yeah, KTM has these displays where they actually show somebody mid-corner.
Yeah.
They had them in a race suit and they were like, you're gonna go crash a motorcycle for us.
They're like, you want to be about 45 degrees of lean and just smash the front brake lever. It's like, oh, no, don't want to do that.
Now, the second feature that they give you, I mean, among many others, is cornering traction control. This is one where you would think you're going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to be able to go wide open throttle mid-corner, and it'll sort itself out. And yeah, that kind of is functionally what it does, but if you're doing that, you're missing the whole point.
Yeah, and it's not, again, a lot of these technologies work really well on racetracks, are not only applicable for street riding, and a rudimentary traction control system is probably all you really need for your everyday street riding duty. But I remember when I rode the Fireblade on the racetrack, 6-axis IMU is pretty sweet to clip off apex and just go wide open and just like have it manage all that power, and you just kind of rock it forward, but not really applicable for street stuff.
Fair enough. Now let's start wrapping up all of our thoughts on technology on a motorcycle.
So despite tech on motorcycles, yay or nay?
Definitely yay. I think we've gotten to a point where the tech is really nice.
Yeah.
It's great to have.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think it's one of those things where you want the tech saving you on your not so great days. I think all of us want to believe that we're these amazing riders that you don't need no frickin' ABS or traction control, all this other stuff, but guys, it just takes one slippery pothole or one weird road to get you offline and cause a crash, and I'd rather have the tech there protecting me than not.
Yeah, there's no way in a panic stop situation you're going to be able to outbrake this computer.
No.
Just not going to happen.
No.
I do think, though, that there is a point at which technology is silly.
Yes.
I don't think we need all these TFT
Like
displays.
wheelie control. Don't control my wheelies, god dang it. I'm just kidding. On those bikes with 200 plus horsepower, you want the wheelie control.
You can even out-wheelie the wheelie control
Yeah.
on some of those bikes, which is nuts.
Yeah.
But there is a point where I think the technology is intrusive. What do you think?
Yes, I think so too. I think once I start losing that connection between throttle and bike, I start to not like it as much. I feel it on this bike a little bit actually, unless you start getting the TC off and putting the sport mode and doing everything else. In many modes on this machine, for example, it feels a little muted, a little numb, and I don't feel super connected to the bike. I think there's other features too that are coming down the pipe, like brake-by-wire and some other stuff.
The power steering.
Yeah, the power steering. That I mean, I think we're at a bit of an apex point right now with our tech. I like the tech. I think it works great. I wouldn't really want anything else because it seems like the basic problems have been solved. You know, traction, braking, power management. We're good.
Yeah,
I think.
The only things that I think are absolutely necessary: ABS.
Absolutely.
100%.
You should get ABS.
I think you should be able to switch it off on the rear wheel, but you should 100% have ABS. You should probably have traction control on anything north of 100 horsepower.
Yeah.
That is really nice to have. And then beyond that, I think you're good.
Yeah, I think for me, I would have a quick shifter on my bike. It's a feature that I've come to really know and love on most motorcycles that I have. But plenty of the bikes that I own don't have quick shifters, so it kind of goes to show you they don't really always need it. Yeah, I think the tech is one of those things is once you get used to it, you want to have it around, you want to keep it, and yeah, but at the end of the day, though, we do always come back to those analog bikes.
We
you
do.
know? They have some charm that these new techie bikes don't have, too, you know?
Yep.
So I think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's nice, but sometimes you don't want it. You just want to feel like it's you in the road.
Like, think about how the Turbo Hayabusa feels with all that power and no
Talk
TC.
about a bike that needs some ABS.
Yeah. Well, guys, we hope you've enjoyed this video on tech on motorcycles. Be sure to leave us a comment down below if you liked it or you had some suggestions or something maybe we missed. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Keep watching Gaming Noob!